One of the things that we're going to go through has to do with launching and the order of things for launch. So I'm going to go and walk through this launch checklist. Many of these things you've already done. So your why, your avatar, your research for your niche, finalizing your budget, working with the budget spreadsheet, and selecting your book size. So let's just imagine all of those are checked off, and we're going to go to the other part. The writing and editing section. You've already finalized your manuscript. You've got your professional editor hired. You've likely completed your edit and filed your copyright. Marketing is a little bit more tricky because part of marketing goes from the beginning of writing a book all the way to the end and then long after, right? But I wanted to document some of the activities and the checklist items for you. So you should have a press kit. Create your marketing plan. And the marketing plan is just a personalized view kind of document that I uploaded that you can use as a way of documenting the things that you personally want to do to market your book. And a lot of that came from previous lessons that we've already done. So some people might be still in here kind of working through some of these activities. So author website, email list, influencers, social media marketing. We had Gail and Nikki sharing information and tips for social media. Content marketing, we also talked about just building things that will be helpful or useful. So those kinds of things kind of go in line with putting an email list together, right? Just creating the content you know you're going to need. And that could also be creating emails that you're going to send out prior to launch day. It could be creating your social media content and scheduling it ahead of time. So these are some of the checklist items that are around marketing that we've covered. And some of you are probably still toward the second half of that, starting to build out some of that stuff. The next section focuses on the illustration phase. Many of you are already working through this, verifying your budget for illustrations, getting samples, selecting your illustrator, providing your illustration brief to your illustrator. We talked about how important the illustration brief was. It is the number one way that you can save money, time, and frustration and be able to really do well with your illustrator so that they can fully understand what you're looking for. Once they go through this illustration brief, they will be able to finalize the timeline and have a better understanding of how long it's going to take to work through your book. Once you have this information, you are able to create and sign your contract. And I do give you that contract template that I share with everyone and recommend, which is a work for hire contract. Once you get through here, that's when the full-blown, full speed ahead with your illustrator. You go through character design, you go through cover illustrations, storyboards, which really is just the flow of your story in a very sketch-like way, very high-level sketches, nothing too detailed, just to get you to the point where you understand what's going on and you get on the same page with your illustrator. Once you feel good there, you're going to get detailed sketches. You start seeing color coming together. And then final illustration source files. When everything is finally approved, all of your color illustrations are done. Many of you are still working in this area, and that's perfectly okay. The story, we're looking at these two things. Once you have these, you can get to the PCIP block. And I'll just give a brief explanation, but this has to do with information that the libraries need to be able to categorize your book. It also provides some legitimacy for your book because for most people, you cannot get CIP blocks unless you are a big publisher or you're publishing more than 3 other authors besides yourself. So because we go to cipblock.com, I work with this library agent that will categorize your book and create this for independent authors like us. So when a librarian looks at it and sees that you have it, they don't know if it's because you're an indie author and you went to somebody else or whether you're working with a bigger publisher. So legitimacy, it's a good thing to have, and it'll be viewed very positively from a librarian perspective. We all know barcodes go on the back of the book with prices for those that want to get their books into bookstores. They're going to want to see prices on them, and then decide on print options. So we have talked a little bit in the past about the fact that there is print on demand, and you can also go to an offset printer and you can print them yourself. Going directly to an offset printer, they can print in bulk and it's higher quality. Now, there's offset printer, which is very large bulk orders. There are companies which do digital printing, which is shorter volumes. Like if you want just 5 or 10 or 50 books, you can go to those that do digital printing, which is more of a short order. If you need large orders, you're going to go to an offset printer. So it's a slightly different process, but those are outside of the print on demand. Understanding what your approach is going to be and getting that down is just an important part of just getting ready to move forward. Next, we're going to move on to the design and formatting. This is what our graphic design and formatting, whether you use Praise Staffler or you go to someone else, you're going to have the supplemental pages, meaning your dedication. Anything that, we call front matter, which is before the story, or back matter, which happens after your story, any additional text there, you're going to need to provide. Select your fonts. Not that you have to pick your fonts, right? Because graphic designers have that eye. But what is helpful is if you pick out a few that you really like and you send those over and you let them know, hey, these are a few that really jumped out at me that I really like. The graphic designer can work with that to better nail the interior for you. And with Praise, she has downloaded or provided a couple of pages worth of fonts that she has found to be really good with picture books. So those are provided for our group so that if you want to go through and look at the ones she recommends and add what your favorites are, then she'll use those to get started with your layout. You're also going to want to finalize your back cover blurb. Complete the design form, which basically is a form. I put it together because we were having a problem with collecting everything from authors. There was always things missing and we would go back and forth, and it would take a lot longer to get through the graphic design and formatting. So we put this little book design form together and it just reminds the author everything that's needed. Finding your graphic designer / book formatter, getting your print quotes, because if you did decide that you want to have the graphic designer put together some things for an offset printer, usually the offset printers have their own templates that they want you to follow. So the graphic designer knows what KDP needs for Amazon, and they know what the Ingram Spark side is. But there are so many different printers out there. By having the quotes and selecting your printer, that you can get them to give you the template that they need. And that goes to your graphic designer as well. And the graphic designer will then use that and make sure that you get the correct file so that it's error-free when you upload it to your printer. Illustrator files are typically uploaded into a folder, or the illustrator can provide access to the graphic designer. So that needs to be made available to the graphic designer. The printer specs for the print quotes, that kind of goes together. Cover design gets completed. Mock-ups get provided. So you get some fancy, nice covers. So you can use it on your marketing, maybe add it to your press kit, add it to your website. The graphic designer and the book formatter will help you with that. And then I just put a reminder to post sneak peeks to the social media accounts that you have. Build up a little bit of anticipation, introducing your characters, telling a little bit about the character, and doing cover reveal. Those are really cool. And don't forget the countdown. 7 days left to launch, 6 days left to launch. Spend the time to really build up the hype. It's all about the hype. Draft layout you'll get from your graphic designer. You'll go through and incorporate feedback and you'll get the final, and then they will generate your files for publishing. And the file formats below are the ones that I typically recommend that the graphic designers I work with produce for each book. So I have them produce a Mobi and or an EPUB. Those are ebook files. Now, if you're going with Amazon and you're going to do KDP Select and you're going to go exclusive with Amazon, then a Mobi file is perfect. If you want to go wide, which means you're not going to be exclusive, you're going to want to submit your ebook to other platforms like Ingram Spark, Smashwords, Kobo, Apple Books, Google Books. Like if you really just want to go wide and just let this ebook fly, you're probably going to want to do an EPUB because these other formats will typically not accept a Mobi. That's an Amazon thing. So that's why when I'm doing it, if I think I'm going to have somebody that's going to go wide, I probably have them do both the Mobi and the EPUB. And then the KDP paperback and the Ingram paperback, they're both going to have the same ISBN. The Ingram hardcover. And then if you have an offset or digital printer, like I said, the specs for that, it's a separate file. And then I usually have a low res PDF that I can also just send out to reviewers, social media influencers, even if it's just sharing it with somebody that is going to want to review the book or give me a testimonial, I can easily just email it to them if it's a smaller low res file. Moving on to pre-launch activities. So those of you who are preparing for your launch, now by this point, you've got your files. So these are things you're going to do in that 6-week period before your book goes live. You're going to order your books. If you're doing print books, you're going to set up your launch team. You're going to identify some book awards because once you have your files, it's time to start submitting to some of those book awards. Apply for editorial book reviews. Let's get some really great quotes you can put on the back cover of your book and put into your editorial reviews on Amazon. Try to get some testimonials too. If you have, for example, a librarian in the area, or you have a social media influencer. I'll give you an example. For my anti-bullying book, I had a parent, I had a school teacher, and I had a counselor, a psychologist, all give me a testimonial that I could use. And I'm able to put that on the back cover or on my listing or on my website. When a teacher says this is a perfect complement to the anti-bullying curriculum that they use at their school, and she mentions some of the curriculums that they're using, those kinds of things can go a long way, and it can be a great addition to your press kit as well. So get some testimonials. Plan for a virtual book tour. I just finished the editing, or actually I didn't, but my team did, for the interview I had with Lindsay, who is an author who did a fantastic job setting up a virtual book tour for her book. And it was a whole month's long worth of events and activities. And it was just amazing how she was able to work all this out. Some things were, her reading aloud her book on such a day, doing a blog guest posting on another day, somebody doing a book review for her on another day, and just like scheduling it, all these events happening during her launch week or launch month. And it really can help take the momentum of your book launch and stretch it out so that you don't have that big spike and then just drop off. You want to be able to have continued activities going on, whether it's during your launch month or the couple weeks prior, and then maybe the week after, but work on getting some of that stuff organized while you're preparing for your book launch. Schedule the events, maybe put invites on people's calendar, Facebook events, whatever. If you've got a book signing or a virtual author visit, start thinking about what you want to schedule for your launch. Don't wait for the last minute if you're going to do a launch party either, because getting venues is really hard at the last minute. You need to plan way in advance for that. Social media content. Nowadays, you can go to Creator Studio and you can just build all of the posts and things you want to do, and you can just schedule them for your book launch through the days. And you could have whole months worth of social media content built so that on the week or month that you launch, you don't have to worry about social media at all. You can create that all ahead of time. Press release. This is good for a couple of things. For your local media, they're going to be really interested when they see a press release for a local author that has released a book in their area. They'll grab it and put it in the local newspapers. Maybe one of the local news stations will pick it up, or you could send that press release over to your local radio and news stations and request an interview. So regardless, it's good to have a press release. The other thing that it really helps you with is helping to get more traffic or a better ranking on Google, because these are called backlinks. When you've got a press release that appears on multiple sites and points back to your site, it makes your site rank higher in Google. So go figure, put it out there. There are services you can use. I think I went to Fiverr and requested help in writing my press release because I wanted it written really well. I'll dig it out and upload it to the course as an example. I had a professional write it for me, but you're welcome to use it as a template or a guide. They had a service where they would write it and then submit it to a bunch of different news stations. And they had me give them a list of all of the ones near me so they could make sure that those were also included in the list that they submitted it to. Contact libraries. So one of the new things that I found is that you can actually upload your book to a special project. It's like an indie author project that is a collaborative effort between indie authors and libraries. They will evaluate your book with a rubric that says, is it high quality? Is it a subject matter that's really popular that a library should carry? And if your book gets selected, it will appear in your local library, but it also gets added to a collection of books that gets distributed, or it gets into a collection that all libraries can choose and pull into their library. So that's an amazing opportunity. You can do that. I've got information that will be submitted. You'll have all of that when the next lessons are pushed out to you in your course. But you also can go to your local libraries, make some phone calls. Some people even donate their newly released book to their local library and try to find out who in the area in your region orders books. Are they indie author friendly? Some of them are. Some of them, they don't want anything to do with self-published books. So you have to kind of get a sense of which libraries will accept and will take your books. And I would also highly recommend that you submit the finished version, the book format, to this new author/library effort that's going on. It looks to be something that's really fantastic. I just submitted and they said it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to evaluate the book and see whether or not it gets accepted. So I'll keep you guys in the loop and let you know what I find out. Pitches to the media. We did have discussions where we had Lida visiting us and talking about how to pitch your book to the media. So once you've got a book and you're getting ready to launch, you should be pitching it. What's the story behind the story? What's amazing about your book? You've put it into your press kit. Make sure you get the publicity that you need and pitch it to people. A lot of the writers that are out there writing articles and stories about picture books or topics like yours are on Twitter, or you can find them by going to hunter.io and get their contact information. So do the work and put a little bit of extra effort. Ben, now we're here to the launch day. And I think you and others have been all saying, okay, well, how do you time all this and what goes first and what goes next? So I finally put all of this into kind of time phased 6 weeks. 5 weeks before, 4 weeks before, 3 weeks before, like what kinds of things should you be doing? So 6 weeks before launch, if you are not doing Kickstarter and you're doing pre-orders through Ingram Spark, set up the pre-order. And we did this, guys. We walked through Ingram Spark and setting up pre-orders in there. There is a different interior and cover than what you'll use with KDP. So you need to make sure you're uploading the right file. Your on sale and release dates must match. So these are just some reminders about setting up Ingram Spark. I usually set the discount to 30 to 35%, so at the minimum. And then I mark USA and Canada returnable and destroy. All others are returnable equals no. So these are just the standard settings we walk through, but I put them here on the countdown so that just to remind people what they need to do as far as the setup. Use a code for free submissions and updates to Ingram Spark. They'll usually charge $49 or $50 for your initial upload and then any changes that you make. But there is usually a code that you can Google and find out. Right now, it's NANO. I think that's all the way through March, and then it'll change again. So I didn't put a code here because the code changes. If you're a member of ALLI, the Alliance of Independent Authors, then I believe that as a member, you have a code you can use that it's always free for you. So that was something that I heard from a different author. So I'll have to verify that. But these are some of the things that you can help keep the prices down with submitting to Ingram. So then you're 6 weeks out, your pre-order is up. 5 weeks before, you want to start setting up your Amazon KDP. So you want to format your book description because unlike Ingram Spark, your book description, you can't click on B for bold and I for italics and make it pretty. You have to actually go through that book formatting description formatter on Kindlepreneur to make it pretty. Select your best 7 long tail keyword phrases, set up your ebook to go live 2 weeks prior to launch. So if this is 6 weeks before and your launch date is out 6 weeks, then you're going to set up your ebook to launch 2 weeks prior. By the time you get here, it's like 3 weeks out. Enroll in KDP Select, check the size of your delivery and your ebook cost. Because when you upload your files for ebooks, one common mistake that I see, especially, not from praise, but from other graphic designers that I've worked with, I see things like delivery cost $5 on an ebook that you would normally charge $2.99. I don't think so. So the mistake is because some of these book formatters or illustrators who are saying that they know how to format books, they don't know all the nuances of making the file size small enough because you are charged for that delivery cost. So you want to make sure that the delivery is showing up as less than $1 to deliver. And if it's not, go back to your book formatter or designer and make sure that that is fixed. When you set up your paperback, so I'm not launching the paperback, but I'm setting it up on KDP and I'm making sure the title is the same as what title I've used on my ISBNs. I'm making sure that the imprint matches what is in Bowker for your ISBNs. These are like things that can come back and provide errors if you don't have them set correctly. Upload your files, your cover and your interior, set up your expanded distribution to know. You don't want Amazon to distribute your book because remember, we're setting our paperback also on Ingram Spark. So Ingram Spark is going to take care of all of the distribution to Barnes and Noble, libraries, bookstores. They are not going to go against the mammoth Amazon, who's putting many of them out of business, to buy your book. So you don't want Amazon being a distributor. You just want to use their sales channel for people to purchase your book, but the distribution is going to go through Ingram Spark. When you submit the ebook, you're submitting it as a pre-order. You can do a pre-order on your ebook. So it is published. It's just not available for purchase yet. So I'm going to just make that a note here. We've got set up your book to go live 2 weeks prior to launch. Yes, but you are publishing it as a pre-order. By the time that you have submitted your ebook there and updated it, you're publishing it. And that means you can go add categories and you can go and add the A+ or from the publisher content. Just like on Ingram Spark, when you put the date in advance, you're allowed to do that with your ebook as well. So when you submitted your Ingram Spark, you set it 6 weeks ahead. The ebook you set 4 weeks ahead. So it's going to go live a couple of weeks before the paperback on your Ingram Spark does. However, because both of those things are published even though they're pre-order, you can add categories and you can add A+ content to those listings. You can also make sure that they link up correctly. And once the reviews come in, then the ebooks that get reviews will get inherited by the print books as well. So now you've uploaded everything with Amazon, you've gone through your paperback, you've ordered your proof copy. Now, 4 weeks before launch, since your ebook is getting ready to publish, you're going to add your additional 8 categories to your KDP version. So you're going to do a little category research. When you originally set up your Amazon and we walked through it together, remember you only got to pick 2 categories. Well, once your ebook is published, now you can add 8 more categories to it. So there's a total of 10 categories that you're allowed. And you can locate categories by looking at books in your niche and just kind of seeing where they're putting their books. But I prefer to use KDP, or I should say Publisher Rocket, because that tool will help you identify those categories that have less competition, which give you a much better chance of becoming a #1 new release and eventually a best-selling author in that category. So I would much rather dig and analyze and go use that tool than just willy-nilly try to find things on Amazon that are categories that you might be taking advantage of. So you're adding from the publisher content, which is something that you can't do yourself. You'll need help with it if you don't have an Advantage account. When you're ready for this, we'll talk about from the publisher content. Set up your author profile, not just on Amazon, but Goodreads and BookBub. And we're going to talk about what you need to do to make sure that that's all set up correctly. So each one of these platforms has their own different process. Amazon adds to the ebook. So we want Amazon to start understanding more about your book. What is it about? What are the keywords that you have set up? Which type of buyers are going to be interested in your book? So by starting ads and sending ads to the ebook, people are starting to see your book and they see it's on pre-order. They might see it half a dozen times before they actually click on it and they see that it's coming up or it's live. So putting the ads before the official launch date will just help Amazon or force Amazon to really index your book for all of these extra keywords that you want to be included in. Okay, so 3 weeks before launch, you make sure everything's linked. Make sure that your look inside percentage, when the print book is out there, you can click and see the interior. The look inside percentage can be updated by requesting that on Amazon. I don't know if you've ever gone in and clicked on look inside and you get 2 pages in, which is just past the title page, and then you can't see anything more. So you officially need to go request that they bump that up. And I usually like to go up to 40, maybe 50%, so that people can see what's inside your book and determine whether or not they want to buy it. You want to also add the A+ content. Each one of your book that has an ASIN, make sure that it's all connected to the A+ content you set up. Update ebook files on Amazon. So what I mean here is you set up your ebook on pre-order. Now it's almost time to launch it. So you want to make sure you go back and any changes you might have made to your ebook or to your print book based on, you received your print copy. Whoops, I forgot this. I, found some errors. You're going to go back to your designer and you're going to have them corrected. You want to make sure you take those corrected files and update the ebook as well as the paperback. That way, when everything goes live and it's published, it's going to have the correct content there. And by this time, you're working with influencers all this time through. I don't think I need to repeat, but I will anyway. You're working on marketing. You're continuing to hype. You're continuing to build that momentum and the anticipation for your book. You're working with your launch team and you're saying, guess what, guys? Ebook goes live. Here it is. It's live. I'm going to set it for a free day. Go grab the ebook. They're going to get it for free. You don't have to tell anybody else about it. It's going to be a soft launch. Basically, it's going to go from pre-order to live because you set it to go live 2 weeks before your actual book launch. You're going to set up a free day, only tell your launch team, go ahead and grab the ebook. Now they get to buy your book for $0. That's the ebook. Because they have purchased it for $0, it becomes a verified review. That's when we go back, and when they post their reviews, it's going to be verified. Anybody can go post a review on any book, but if it's not verified, it doesn't hold that same value that a verified review would. Don't just click purchase and post the review right away. I would give it a few hours or till the next day, just because you don't want Amazon to think they clicked this and then they gave it an instant 5-star. There's something fishy about that review. You also might want to look at ads. Amazon, BookBub, Goodreads, all of these platforms have ads. So now as you're building up to, it's only 2 weeks more before launch, what more can you do to generate traffic and generate visibility for your book? So these are some of the areas you could extend and provide additional ad dollars. Set up your free day for your launch team. We talked about that. Continue with marketing. Update your final files once and for all, because everything's going to start moving forward very quickly. So 1 week before launch, you're continuing to build hype. You're confirming your book tour activities, right? You're checking in with those people that made commitments to you, letting them know, hey, there's only 1 week left. Just want to confirm everything's going right. You're ready to post my review. We're going to do this, do that. Confirm all of that stuff so that there's nothing that falls through the cracks. You have your reviews from the launch team coming in. And if they're not coming in, remind them. Go through and make sure you got your reviews from your launch team. Sometimes it takes going back and reminding people. Sometimes I download things and somebody says, hey, can you go review? And I say, yeah, sure. And then I get a reminder a week later and I'm like, oh crap, I totally forgot. I'll go do that right now. So don't feel like you can't remind them again, because they might need that little push to say, oh yeah, that's right. You know, they're willing to do it, but people get busy. So remind them, let's get those book reviews so that when the launch automatically turns on from your pre-order, now it's actually live. Number one, all of your books pre-sales all become live on that day. So they all become active sales. That's going to give you a number one new release status. And then after a certain amount of time, if you're number one in that category, you're going to get a pre-order. You might see some number one new releases. The target is getting you to your number one bestseller as well. So we want to get you to be a best-selling author. You want to be an award-winning author. So you've already applied to some of those review sites and award sites. Keep going with that stuff, even through here. Awards happen at different times of the year. So don't stop looking for and applying for legitimate awards. And I do have that list for you to consider that also is going to be uploaded probably next week for you. So KDP paperback will be published a few days prior. So you already know that your Ingram Spark is going to turn live automatically because you set it to go live 6 weeks out. It's just going to happen automatically. There's nothing you need to do. But we did not publish your paperback version on KDP. 3 days before, push it out, publish it. It's going to show up in a day or two. So it'll be like a day before the other book goes live. And the reason why we try to do that is so that you can also connect some of the ads to your paperback. Because unfortunately, you can't send Amazon ads to an Ingram Spark book, right? It's either the ebook on KDP or it's the paperback on KDP. So we're running through and making sure that a few days prior to launch that you're publishing this so that it goes live the day of or the day before, and you can connect those ads right away, because we want that momentum and the ads to really get that Amazon algorithm working for you. You're going to copyright with your illustrations because now everything's live. You have the final everything. So you might as well go ahead and update your copyright with all of your illustrations. Now, this is specific to people who own the copyright for their illustrations. Not all of you will find an illustrator that will agree to give you the copyright. If you have that as a work for hire, then you should register that copyright. Don't forget to send a copy to the Library of Congress, because your final book, they want you to actually send them a physical copy of your book to the Library of Congress, and they will keep it on file. And then launch week, you've got press release, you've got book tours, do whatever you're doing to continue to move forward, cross promote with other authors, continue to run your ads, analyze your performance, adjust and pivot as you need to. So just keep this moving. There's lots of activities that happen post-launch. Feet hit the ground. You go visit bookstores, you make appointments, and you get on podcasts. And if you just do one thing a day, that'll get you much closer to where you want to be. So just don't give up, don't stop, because we don't want that momentum to crash and then have your book go from a #1 bestseller to fall quickly to the bottom of the barrel. All right, I think we're good. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.